The next day, Asa woke up. No aroma of breakfast cooking in the kitchen. Jidena had always made breakfast for the both of them since he lost his former job. There was no sound of a bathroom tap, no slippers dragging on the tiles, just stillness and her in the house that felt bigger than before. She stretched lazily and unlocked her phone. There were no missed calls, no text messages. Her lips twitched almost into a smile. He'll come back. They always do. But by the following week, when she didn't hear from him, she cleared out Jidena's clothes and tossed his toothbrush in the bin. She even bought herself a new perfume to mark a fresh start. She posted a selfie with the caption, "Soft life continues. I can't come and kill myself." That was the same week she met Chuma. He was charming, dark-skinned with a voice like a man who had lived in 3 continents. He wore white kaftans and drove a car with no number plate. They met at a real estate terminal. Asa was looking at using her money for real estate, and now that she didn't have to hide anymore, she felt it was just perfect timing. Chuma seemed to know a lot about investments. He was even one of the speakers in the event. So when he smiled at her and said, "Hi, I don't usually do this, but you just ruined my plan to mind my business." Asa blushed. For a moment, he felt like God was rewarding her for surviving heartbreak. Chuma called every single day and every night. Each time he visited, he had gifts in hand, luxury perfumes, bags, and hair. Asa didn't even have to ask, but Chuma would send her food, call her, take her to Abuja for a getaway weekend. Before long, she started calling him baby. 2 months later, Chuma sat Asa down in her apartment and said, "Baby, I've been working on something big. It's a new investment, a crypto exchange platform. The thing is legit. It's the kind of business that change people's lives overnight. It's even bigger than land investment." He smiled, sipping his drink confidently. "Dear, these days, making money is not hard. It's just about taking the right risks. I want you to invest if you can. There's an opening this Wednesday, and I want you to be part of it." Asa wasn't sure at first. She had her doubts. But by the next week, Chuma pulled up in a brand new SUV. "Ah, babe, your problem is that you fear a lot and you have trust issues," he said, laughing, flashing his phone screen. "See this alert. I just cashed out of that investment I made last week, and I made double. I even bought this car from the profit." That evening, he took her to one of those high-end boutiques in Oka. "Come, let me spoil you a little with some of the proceeds," he said, grinning. By the time they got home, Asa's mind was spinning. She turned to him and said, "So when is the next opportunity opening? I want to invest too." Chuma looked at her. "In a week. But how much do you have ready now?" Asa replied, About 98 million." Chuma shook his head. "No now, that's too small. If you really want to see massive profit, the kind of money that will change your entire life, you have to go big. Big investment, big return." That night after he left, Asa lay awake in bed. She kept replaying his words in her head. "Change your life." Then she said, "I need to change my life. I need Jidena so that when he sees me, he will bow. I think I deserve it," she thought. So she made a decision. The next day, she went to the bank early in the morning. She put the house up for mortgage. Her plan was simple: invest more, get a bigger return, and buy an even finer house. 2 days later, over 150 million naira left her account into a secured wallet Chuma had arranged. The return was supposed to land in 1 week. At first, everything seemed fine. Chuma was still calling, texting, checking up on her until the 6th day. Then silence. He vanished. No calls, no replies. His number was switched off. His office locked, empty, gone. 2 weeks passed. Then a full month. No profit, no update, no Chuma. 6 months had passed yet. Asa was still unable to hear from Chuma. She has sold off most of her expensive items to keep up, but life hasn't been the same. Most days, she begged for small monies to feed. Other times, she slept without food. Meanwhile, the night Jidena left, he didn't talk much. The betrayal had bruised him in a way that words couldn't carry. He didn't cry, he just walked through the quiet streets of Oka with a small bag in one hand and a heart that felt twice its weight. That night, he checked into a modest lodge on the edge of town. It was 3,500 per night. A small room with brown bedsheets, a humming ceiling fan, and a bathroom tap that coughed instead of flowing. It wasn't much, but it was quiet, and for now, it was just enough. The weeks that followed weren't easy. He kept working in his small office during the day, and on weekends, he still drove for a logistics company. He wasn't trying to bounce back, he was just trying to survive. After some months, he had just saved enough to move into a tiny one-bedroom apartment. No furniture here, just his mattress on the floor, one fan, and a plastic chair by the window. But it was his and it was peaceful. By night, Jidena studied free online courses on youth leadership, digital development, community impact. Some nights he would fall asleep with a pen in his hand, laptop still glowing on his chest. 1 year later, an old mentor from his consulting days called. A government agency needed facilitators for a youth development program. They wanted someone who understood grassroots problems but could also work with policy. Jidena fit both. He applied and was selected. That was the beginning of the turning point. At first, it was just small community talks, school visitations, church seminars. But his words, they touched people. He didn't speak like a politician. He spoke like someone who had been there, someone who knew what it meant to fail and still keep going. Soon, people began to notice him. One afternoon, during a public youth town hall, the governor was in attendance. Jidena stood up and gave a short, heartfelt speech, no big grammar. The hall went quiet after the speech. Even the governor tilted forward in his seat. The very next day, Jidena got a call. He was invited to the government house. When he arrived, the governor looked him in the eye and said, I've been hearing about you for months, but yesterday I saw you. You're not just intelligent, you carry people's stories with respect. I need people like you in my cabinet. And 3 weeks later, Honorable Jidena Nwankwo was sworn in as the Commissioner for Youth and Empowerment. The newspapers carried the story. Facebook, LinkedIn were on fire. Old friends started calling him. Former colleagues sent congratulatory messages. But Jidena, he sat by his new office window, alone, dressed in a clean white shirt, watching the sun fade behind Oka's orange skyline. He whispered softly to himself, God, thank you for not letting me become bitter. This version of me was worth the wait. Meanwhile, life changed for Asa. Some days, she didn't open her curtain. There was no point. The sunlight only reminded her that another day had come, and she still had nothing. She had sold her perfumes, then her designer bags, then the last gold anklet they bought for her while they were cutting. The same neighbors who once greeted her with envy now whispered behind her back. Asa heard them, but she didn't reply. What could she say? One hot afternoon, she stepped into a roadside buka with her last 400 naira. She wanted to buy rice and stew, no meat. The woman looked at her and said, Auntie, you go fit add 100 naira make I just give you better portion. Asa shook her head, tears fighting behind her lashes. Just give me what the 400 naira can buy now. That night, back in her now half-empty flat, she sat on the tiled floor and opened her Facebook. She didn't know why she did it. But when she did, she saw it. Jidena, wearing white agbada, standing beside the governor, smiling like a man who had just been crowned king. Then the caption read, Congratulations to Honorable Jidena Nwankwo, newly appointed Commissioner for Youth and Empowerment. Asa stared at the screen for a long time. She zoomed in. It was him, only he was brighter, healthier, more handsome, more powerful. Her throat tightened. He had moved on and upwards, while she had gambled with the gold and was now begging for dust. Meanwhile, across town, Jidena was in a government SUV heading to his first public engagement. He didn't smile much these days. He had learned that silence was louder than shouting. The road was long, the air hot, but inside his chest there was calm. He had made it out with scars, yes, but he made it. And now he could breathe again. Later that week, Asa stood in front of a mirror holding a borrowed scarf to her head. She had bathed in cold water, worn the only decent gown she hadn't sold, and borrowed transport fare from her neighbor. She didn't know what she would say when she saw him, but she knew she had to try, even if it was just to see his eyes one more time. It was a cloudy Tuesday in Oka. Even the wind was confused, hot and slow like it had no strength to blow. Asa stood in front of the Ministry of Youth and Empowerment. She walked to the security man at the gate, who directed her to the secretary's office. It was a male secretary. He looked at her as she walked in. "Good morning, sir. Please, I want to see Honorable Jidena," she said. "And who are you?" "Just tell him Asa is here." The man raised a brow, looked her up and down. "Do you have an appointment, ma?" "No, but he knows me. Please." He sighed and walked into his office. "Sir, there's a woman here to see you. She says her name is Asa." There was silence. Then he said, "Tell her to wait." The waiting area was cold, too cold for someone with a heart beating that fast. Asa sat on the edge of a leather couch, legs pressed tightly together, eyes fixed on the floor. She wanted to practice what she would say, but her throat was dry. Everything she rehearsed last night had vanished. Then the door opened. "He says you can come in now." The office was very beautiful, bright, organized, soft jazz humming from a Bluetooth speaker. Asa stepped in quietly, and there he was, Jidena, wearing a fitted native outfit, clean, calm, smelling of cedar wood and something expensive. He didn't smile, neither did he frown. He looked at her the way a person looks at a story they had already finished reading. "Asa." His voice was lower now, wiser. She blinked, then stepped forward. "Jide," she swallowed hard. I I heard the news. You're doing well." Jide nodded slowly. Didn't offer her a chair. Congratulations on your appointment," she added quickly. "You're now a commissioner." There was silence. Then she continued. I came to I I came to say sorry." Her voice cracked on the last word. He said nothing. You didn't deserve what I did. I was blind. I was proud. I was foolish. And I thought I was right. But I've realized I was so wrong. Please forgive me." Her hands trembled slightly. She continued. "After you left, I met someone." She took a deep breath and continued. He's calmed me, took everything, the money, I even mortgaged the house. Very soon they would come to take over because I failed to repay the loan. I have nothing left, Jide, nothing. Jidena leaned back in his chair. "So you remembered me because you have nothing left?" Asa looked down. Her tears fell quietly, landing on her wrist. "I'm not here to beg for love, Jide. I just want a chance. Even if it's to start again, even if it's to work here, anything to survive, Jide, please. I've been searching for jobs, but none of them have called me." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Please just help me." There was silence again. Then Jidena stood up and walked to the window. He looked out at the busy road for a while before speaking. "Come back tomorrow. There's a new project we are launching. Maybe you could work there even as a volunteer." She looked up sharply, hope rising in her chest. "Yes, I can even volunteer." "It's not a job, oh, and there's no salary yet, just allowances." She nodded quickly. "That's more than enough. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jide. I'm so grateful." He didn't smile. "You can go now," he ordered. She turned to leave, her legs shaky, but just before she opened the door, she paused and said, "Jide." He didn't look at her. She continued, "Thank you so much for having such a big heart." There was still no reply, just the sound of the door shutting gently behind her. All right. 3 months had passed. Asa kept showing up. Every morning she arrived at the ministry early, dressed in simple clothes, hair tied back, carrying a brown folder and a bottle of water. She swept the corridor, organized files, volunteered for outreach projects in villages no one wanted to visit. People began to talk. "That's Honorable Jidena's ex-wife. Oh. She has changed. Maybe he will forgive her." Asa didn't care what they said. For one, she wanted to be useful to prove, if not to Jidena, to herself that she wasn't the same girl who once laughed when he cried. Jidena on his part said little. He would pass her in the hallway, offer a nod, sometimes a brief "well done," oh, but that was all. He kept her at arm's length, professional, polite, distant. Yet sometimes, just sometimes, Asa would catch him watching her from his office window. And in those moments, a spark of hope would flicker in her chest. Maybe, just maybe he's beginning to see me again. One Friday afternoon, as the ministry buzzed with talk of a state-sponsored anniversary gala, Honorable Jidena's PA entered the volunteer room. "Honorable Jidena wants to see Asa urgently." Asa's heart skipped. She dusted her skirt, checked her reflection in her phone screen and walked quietly to his office. When she entered, he was standing behind his desk looking sharp in a wine-colored senator outfit. "Asa," he said, with that same calm tone. "Yes, sir. I want you to attend tomorrow's gala as part of our internal team. You'll be at my table. I believe it's time people see your face." Her heart skipped. "Thank you so much, sir," she whispered. He reached for something on his desk, a small invitation card with her name written in gold. "The meeting is by 7 p.m. sharp. Make sure you don't be late." Asa nodded, her eyes wide with gratitude. "I won't disappoint you, Jide. I mean, Honorable Jidena." He gave a small smile, the first in months. "I know." The next night, the hall glowed. It was a feast of elegance, velvet curtains, soft jazz, perfumes in the air, government officials, business tycoons, the press, and in the middle of it all, Jidena, calm, smiling, powerful. Asa walked in wearing a borrowed black gown that hugged her just enough. Head stunned. "Is that Asa? He brought her here. Are you sure they're not getting back together? Because she has been talking about it a lot." They continued murmuring. Asa sat by Jidena's side, quiet, radiant, grateful. But there was a pride in her heart, the way she stood, hoping that we're getting back together for real. "Thank you so much for having me here," she said. Jidena looked at her, eyes soft. "It's good to have you." Then, just as the MC called Jidena to the podium for his speech, the hall went quiet. Cameras flashed, lights dimmed slightly. He stepped forward and began. "Tonight, as we celebrate youth transformation and second chances, I want to share a moment that means a lot to me." Asa's eyes were wide. She clutched her clutch bag tighter, hoping to hear a beautiful news. Then Jidena continued, "For years, I gave everything I had to someone who didn't believe in me. I lost my home, my inheritance, even my dignity, but I never lost my faith in becoming more." He turned towards the audience. "I stand here tonight not just as a commissioner but as a man who had refused to let betrayal define him." A few people clapped softly, then he paused and with a small deliberate sigh he said, "So today I want to introduce you to someone special." Asa sat up straighter. "A woman who has been by my side for the past few years. The real woman. The one who stood beside me in silence while I rebuilt my life." Then he extended his hands and from the back of the hall a woman walked in, graceful, confident, wearing a white dress. Asa's boss. The same woman she had gossiped with, telling her how he wanted to get back to Jidena by all means. The one who had trained her during her volunteer work. Asa blinked. Her throat dried instantly. Jidena turned to the woman, smiled and said, "Chimamanda, will you marry me?" Gas filled the room. People screamed, cameras flashed. The woman nodded, covering her mouth with her hands. Asa. She didn't blink. She couldn't. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Jina turned slightly, caught her eyes across the table, and for just 1 second he smiled. Not in pride, not in wickedness, but in peace. And then he winked at her. The end. Thank you so much for watching this story to the end. They say life is a mirror. What you give somehow finds its way back to you. Jidena gave his heart, he gave his home, he gave everything. But when he had nothing left, he chose dignity, he chose to walk, and for once, he never gave up. And Asa, she had everything. Imagine a woman that had a husband that truly loved her, was giving her everything, but she lacked gratitude. Even when she was saying her money is her money, at least she would have appreciated the fact that Jidena was there for her, gave her a lot of things. But in the end, the same hands she used to push love away became the same hands she used to beg for mercy. Well, let this story remind you, never take a good heart for granted, no matter what. And never laugh at someone just because they are down. You don't know how their story ends. Well, before we go, I would like to hear from you. What would you tell Asa if you had 30 seconds with her? Do you think people like Asa truly change, or do they only regret when their money finish or when they are in a disadvantaged position? Please share your thoughts in the comment section, and if you enjoyed this story, please like, share and comment on these videos to support your girl. Those comments make my day, sincerely. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this YouTube channel, because here we don't just tell stories, we tell the kind of stories that live in your heart long after the video ends. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, karma no dey miss address. See you in the next video. Bye.